The Galactic Academy of Advanced Combat was a place where only the elite of the elite trained young warriors from a dozen species groomed to become future admirals, strategists, and champions of their people. Each species brought its own legacy: the massive Krovlok with their crushing strength, the telepathic Zynth who could bend minds, the insectoid Zerl who swarmed enemies in perfect unison. And then there was the human cadet Mason Hale. No one quite knew why Earth had been granted a slot at the Academy. Humans were a curiosity, fragile, slow to heal, and their primitive tech centuries behind. Hale's presence became a running joke. In combat drills, he was always the first down. In strategy sims, his ships were vaporized in minutes. In martial arts classes, the instructors used him to demonstrate what not to do. "Try not to break him today," Krovlok cadet Grothak would snarl, his massive fists pounding into Hale's training pads. Mason never fought back. He smiled, bruised and battered, and came back the next day. And the next. And the next. His peers mocked him in the mess hall. The instructors barely acknowledged him. To them, he was a failure, the perfect reminder of how weak humans were. What no one saw was what happened behind closed doors. Mason trained alone every night in the Zero-G gym, replaying each sparring match in his mind. He devoured the Academy's combat archives, memorizing every species' tactics. He hacked the restricted servers to study the weaknesses of Krovlok muscle fiber, the Zynth mental link, the Zerl swarm code. Humans, he knew, didn't get to win by playing fair. The final exam arrived sooner than anyone expected: the Gauntlet, a massive simulated war game in the Holodome. All cadets were thrown into a combat scenario designed to push them to the brink. Only one would emerge as champion of the cohort. As always, no one expected Hale to last 5 minutes. He stood alone at the starting platform, adjusting his cheap combat harness. Grothak cracked his knuckles from across the dome, flanked by the Zerl swarm. The Zynth floated in meditative poses, confident they could mindlock any primitive human. A horn blared. The gauntlet began. Within moments, explosions rocked the simulated battlefield. Zerl warriors swarmed Grothak's unit, but the Krovlok's brute force turned the tide. The Zynth picked off stragglers with psychic lances. Amidst the chaos, Hale simply vanished into the debris. "They say he's hiding," Grothak roared to his followers. "Pathetic. We end him last." But the Academy monitors saw something different. Hale was everywhere and nowhere, slipping through blind spots, planting traps, rerouting energy conduits. He used the environment like a weapon, creating bottlenecks, fake signals, and mirrored decoys. Hours dragged on. The field narrowed. The Krovlok fell into hidden pit mines Hale had buried under their path. The Zerl found their swarm code scrambled by feedback devices he'd quietly installed. When the Zynth tried to link minds with him, they recoiled, discovering the primitive human mind was a labyrinth of lies and half-truths, impossible to crack. Finally, only Hale and Grothak remained. The massive Krovlok bellowed as he stormed into the ruined central plaza, eyes wild with fury. "Face me, coward," Grothak roared. Mason Hale stepped out from the shadows. Gone was the timid smile. His eyes were calm, calculating. He carried no heavy weapons, just a small pulse blade and a compact disruptor. "You want to know my true power, Grothak?" Hale said, voice echoing in the dome. "It's not muscle. It's not magic. It's the fact that humans survive. We adapt. We learn. And when we fight to win." Grothak charged, the ground quaking. Hale ducked low, slipping under the Krovlok's swing. He jabbed his blade into a cluster of exposed nerve nodes he'd memorized from Krovlok anatomy charts. Grothak roared in pain, swinging wildly, but Hale was already behind him, disruptor pressed to the base of the skull. A flash of blue. Silence. When the lights of the gauntlet flickered back on, Mason Hale stood alone in the wreckage. From the observation deck, the instructors stared in stunned silence. The other cadets watched, jaws slack, as the weakest human, the joke, the punching bag, was crowned champion. As Hale stepped out of the dome, he caught the wide-eyed gaze of a Zynth elder. "What are you?" the elder whispered. Hale shrugged. A tired smile crept onto his face, the same one he'd worn all year. "Just human," he said. "Remember that." And from that day forward, the Galactic Academy learned a lesson they would never forget: underestimate a human at your peril. The end.